Welcome to the WealthGenius Podcast. The WealthGenius Podcast. Strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The WealthGenius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Quadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The WealthGenius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
Crystal and Andy, I'm so happy to have you guys here. Woo!
Woohoo!
How do you feel?
I feel so grateful to be here.
I'm grateful. Little Godfather is grateful. Everybody's grateful. You know, it's been a series of events since we first met.
Yes.
That now you're sitting right here in our offices, in the
Yeah.
penthouse,
Yeah.
beautiful view. And it's definitely a story that should be shared, you know? I want to start by talking about where you guys are now. So what does your portfolio look like now? What does the real estate look like now? What are you guys doing currently?
Currently, we're working on 2 properties in Brockville. We've been looking at many deals this year. We look at 100 units, 84 units. We're going big and we're excited.
We also have that 8 unit in Brockville that we own and that we're able to purchase. So now we're trying to definitely concentrate in that market. We really like the Brockville market. So
Yeah, and Brockville is a beautiful place. I've always told everyone, you know, anything along that 401, you're going to see massive growth, right? Because cities are not shrinking, they're growing out, right? And, you know, as these places become more dense, people are going to look for cheaper places to live. And you guys currently are looking at 10 units there right now, or I think that's what you're saying. That
yes, it's a 10 unit that we're looking at. We just sent an offer, and at the same time, the same realtor came out with another off-market deal. Stick with that building side by side to another 7 units.
So let's go back to the beginning with this 8-plex. Even though you've tried many things, your first deal was not your townhome or your condo. Your first deal was an 8-unit apartment building. Is that something that you would advise other people to do?
Totally.
Yeah.
So we didn't even start by buying our own residence, but that's the mentality we had before we met you. You know, we wanted to buy our first residence, and since we got into investing in multifamily, so we don't see it as important to go and buy our personal residence right away. So
You're planning on building the portfolio and then have the portfolio fund the personal residence.
Exactly.
So let's go through that 8-plex. I mean, we say 8-plex it's just an 8-plex. But to someone watching this, potentially that would be the biggest deal that they could ever imagine doing, you know, and 8 units. I remember when I had a single, I went into a duplex that I converted into a triplex. My next deal was a 7-plex. And I couldn't sleep that night. Like I just thinking about 7 people are going to giving me rent. It was surreal to me. It was like, wow, 7 apartments, like that's just incredible. So, you know, don't forget that. I mean, for some people, that's a huge step, and for you guys, it's normal. It's like 84 units, 100 units. So, you know, how did you find this deal?
We found it on Kijiji, actually, off market, and we did the deal directly with the seller.
Yeah, so you emailed the seller, you called the seller.
when I started, I was able to call the seller, and I also sent him a message to Kijiji. So he ended up replying to me, and we were able to get on the call together, and we set up a walkthrough. And since it was COVID, he wasn't taking any walkthrough at all. That property was on the market for probably 5 months or 6 months. He wasn't taking any walkthroughs. So we were kind of the first walkthrough that he took.
What made him trust you guys enough to do this walkthrough?
I guess it was just like the relationship. We were very personable with him.
Exactly.
And actually during that walkthrough, at first we were doing the walkthrough together, and then at the end, like towards the end, I went into the backyard with the wife, and then I just started building a relationship with her, talking with her. We had our daughter with us on the walkthrough, and then she was running around in the backyard playing with the owner's dog, and we just started building a relationship. And thankfully, because we ended up extending that deal for 8 months.
Yeah. Well, you know, people that get into real estate, they think that it's very transactional. It's all about relationships, right? It's all about building rapport, building, you know, that likability with your owners, with your sellers rather, or any type of transaction that you want to do. Things are going to move smoother if it becomes about people, right? And
Totally.
people tend to forget that, and you went there, you connected with the wife. But good move bringing Pearly, because, you know.
I just want to share that there was actually another group that was there at the same time as me. That group had bought a fourplex that they own, so they could have went with them knowing that they
And they
can
bought
close
another one
and
of
you
them.
know.
Yeah.
But they told us it's the relation. They felt like they related with us the same way they started. They felt like we were them. So that's why they kind of went with us, and also like having Pearly being cute, playing with the dog did help as well.
Nice move. So look, so you got this deal, you found this deal, private seller, and you put it under contract.
Yeah.
You have this deal under contract. What are you feeling at this moment? Do you feel like it's going to close? You know, because I know that you had other deals that didn't close, right? And I feel sometimes, you know, in real estate, especially in multifamily, you know, there's that due diligence part of things.
Yeah.
And sometimes deals fall apart. And I feel that that's where a lot of people give up, right? And so by this time, you had done a couple of deals that didn't work out, and then now you're here. So what are you feeling? You got this deal under contract.
Yeah.
How much was it under contract for?
$930,000.
$930,000. So what are you feeling?
Actually, we went through like a roller coaster of emotions. First, we were very excited, and then we go through like ups and downs because you're not sure if you're going to be able to close on it or not, or if you're going to get the terms that you want. There's all the negotiating, and they agreed to an agreement for sale at one point, and towards the end.
And so let's back up there.
Yeah.
Why did you feel that this deal needed an agreement for sale?
Because in order to get the financing that we wanted, the rents were too low. So the net operating income was too low. And so we thought if we could have a year to turn it around and get the rents up, then we could get the financing that we were looking for.
And we could get closer to the price that the seller was looking at, because he didn't want to bring down the price too much. So that's why that was one of the options that we brought to him.
And that's the first initial deal that he accepted.
He didn't even know what was an agreement for sale, so we kind of had to educate him about that. And he was actually shocked that he came back and accepted it, but he wanted to bring it to his lawyer, and that's the reason that the agreement for sale didn't go forward.
Yeah, so I find that a lot of people, they bring things to their, lawyers and accountants are deal killers.
Yeah.
Yes.
They will never say, go ahead and do it. You know, 'cause it's a liability, right?
Yeah.
You know, in retrospect, maybe you should have said, look, your lawyer may not accept this. Maybe go to another lawyer. But for whatever reason, he was spooked. But how long did that take?
Their lawyer took 2 months to get back to us. 2 months. And it was over the Christmas holidays. And they came back and they said, listen, our lawyer said no, so we're not comfortable moving forward with the agreement for sale. And they said, we might need to put this back on the market. And I think our hearts sank because we put 8 months into this deal.
8 months. Was it under contract?
It was
Yeah,
under
it was under
contract.
contract.
It was
for
under
8 months.
contract. You discovered that the numbers don't work the way
Yeah.
they need to work for the financing. You come up with a solution, an agreement for sale. They agree, but they need legal counsel. That takes 2 months, okay, because whatever, the lawyer wasn't around. Yeah, it was
busier.
busy, whatever. Now they come back 2 months later and they're like, we're going to put it on the market because, we need to sell this thing.
Yeah.
So what do?
We call you.
Well, I know the story, but I'm doing it for the benefit of the
Yeah,
people
I know.
watching here.
We got a little bit creative. So he did let us know that, because at first, when we first started the deal, we asked him if he was able to get us some vacant unit.
Yeah.
So at first he didn't want to do anything about this, so he didn't
Yeah.
want to get any vacancy to help the purchase of the property. But by that time, it let us know that there was one person that was leaving. So now the numbers are starting to
Look better.
look better. So what we came out, we said, be able to close and be able to do a quick close, but we would need it at 880. And we had it at 930, but we told him that we needed it at 880, and that was making the deal a little bit sweeter at that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said we'd close cash, but if he gave us the price we wanted, which was 880, and on the phone call he said, "Okay, we'll call you back tomorrow."
What are you thinking at this point?
We're like, "Oh my God,
Our heart is
please."
beating.
Yeah,
Our
so
heart is going.
is he
There's
calling
emotion.
the same lawyer again? Like, what's this guy doing,
I
right?
don't know.
We're stressing, we're sweating.
Because we know that he's thinking about putting it back in the market. So
I remember this was at the height of the market.
Yes,
at the
it was.
height
Yeah.
of the market,
Yeah, so like things were selling for like 400,000 over asking. So we're like, we have no idea what's gonna happen. The phone rang 30 seconds later, and they said, "Done."
Yeah, so that was a moment. Like, it's probably one of the best moments I've lived, like in terms of emotion. And
What are you guys doing at this point? Like, they call you, they said, "Done," and you hang up the phone. What are you doing?
I think we were literally like jumping and
I was doing
and
the laps. I was
celebrating.
running back and forth in my house, jumping on the wall. I remember I can see it again. Like I was just going crazy, texting.
It's like you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we won the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
And
it
then
was
like
one of the greatest moments. Our daughter is looking at us like,
what is going
what
on?
is going on? Like, this guy is going nuts.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and then like after that settled, we're like, okay, oh God, now what? Now we gotta get working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what do you
exactly.
do now? What do you
Yeah.
do now?
So now we got on the phone with our mortgage broker. We're like, we need like private money
Money.
yesterday. Can you do it? And then we started raising.
So
Nice.
we started taking action right
So
away.
what was the close from the moment that they finally said done? When was the anticipated close? Like, when did you have to close the deal?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And so within those 2 weeks, what are the things that you got to do?
Well, we had to incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to call our lawyer and see, can you do this like ASAP? We had to call our mortgage broker and say, like, can you find us this money? And he did. And
we start raising.
and start raising and start calling people and like, okay, if you can't, do you know somebody who can? And just hustle hard. And we did it in 4 days.
Woo! What do you, like, that's not normal. No, honestly, like the average person is probably going to think like, okay, you guys are maybe like fudging the story a little bit. You know what I mean? Like in 4 days,
But-
you raise this capital.
But people doesn't see that.
Yeah.
Before we tried and
Yeah.
like they don't see the
Yeah.
the work
Exactly.
that went in it. Like
Yeah.
we had a lot of deal where we tried to raise and it didn't work out. So
Yeah.
in that period there was a lot of learning. We've learned a lot from
Yeah.
those. And you know, I remember even when we were doing raise, I was asking Crystal to criticize me.
Yeah.
And you know how it is, like asking your wife to criticize you. But I took it constructively. Sometimes it was hurting, but I never made anything about it. I took it constructively, and every time we were getting better and better and better until that time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of work went into that. Then we met with a lot of investors before then.
Yeah. So you already were ready to go.
Yeah.
4 days, you raise all the capital. What is the one thing that you could attribute that to?
I would say
Urgency.
urgency.
Mm-hmm.
The
The sense of
urgency, I think
urgency.
it was the biggest.
You know what? I'm a big believer in that. Like, there's power in urgency. When you have to do something, you're gonna do it.
You're
know what
gonna do it. I
Yeah.
think
As long
it's-
as you're ready for it, because it's like, you know, it's like an Olympic athlete, right? They train for 4 years, right? And then on game day, now they have to dig deep and then perform. And you know, the training, all the 4 years training, that's what comes out that day. And so all of the deals that fell apart, all of the pain, all of the crushed feelings and crushed souls, you know, not doing deals, and then all of a sudden you got this one shot,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And you know, in 4 days you structured that whole deal, and it's amazing, guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So what's the outcome? How much is the deal worth now? You bought it for 880. What's it worth now?
It's worth 1.6 million.
What are you even saying to yourself right now? You know what I mean?
Trying
Like
to
there's like
pinch-
almost $800,000 in
In
equity.
equity, exactly.
Yeah, you guys are inspiring. I love the teamwork here. What is a piece of advice that you could offer people that are couples that are working together? Like, that can't be easy. You know, I know it firsthand, you know, because I work with my wife as well. Yeah. So, you know, I know that we had to kind of create a groove. Yeah. So what is the groove? Like, how do you guys work so well together?
Yeah, it wasn't, when we started, we did bump head a lot because we were trying to pass on the door both at the same time, you know. But what I would say would be one of my advice would be to each person find their roles. Because when we did that and started allocating roles, and I started respecting what she was doing without criticizing, that was her role, and she did the same thing with me, like, that's when we start like blooming and flourishing.
Yeah, and then you also divide the tasks, right? So you can accomplish more. But if you're both like doing the same thing at the same time, you're not getting as much done. Yeah. And so you kind of figure out what each one's good at and what they're passionate about, and then kind of divide it that way.
I love it. I know that a lot of people are inspired, especially couples, right? Mm-hmm. That seems to be a challenge for whatever reason, right? Maybe no one's used to it, right? And especially like, you know, leaving your JOBs where, of course, people can work together, but like they work in separate offices or whatnot. But I think people could definitely resonate with that. So we want to leave people with some knowledge, some tips, some tangible things that they could do. So I want 3 tips each on real estate, on, you know, whatever you think that the audience needs to hear. So I'll start with you, Crystal.
So I would say believe in yourself. You can do it. It's possible. And I would say trust the process. I remember when we were getting anxious and we would tell you, we want our first deal. We just want the first one. Just trust the process. Sometimes you can't see it, but you need to go through all these things to get that first one, to be ready. And if you go in too early and maybe you get your first building too early, maybe you won't succeed. So you got to be patient and trust the process. And get comfortable being uncomfortable. I know that everybody says that, but it's so true. That's how you grow. If you're not growing, you're stagnant, and stagnant's no good.
In fact, I would say if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally.
100%.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, for me, I would say find yourself like a mentor that is where you want to go, you know? So that would be my first advice. Second one, I would say to surround yourself with better people, you know? Like, I had to change my circle. I had to change my peers. I had to change my circle and influence to be where I am today.
Why do you think people have a hard time changing that circle? Like, I know what it's like, you know, I grew up, you know, with my friends and everyone is, you know, doing all kinds of things, and like I wanted to hang out, or you know what I mean, like it's fun, right? It's like, oh, let's watch the game on Tuesday, the family event, the barbecues, the this and the that, the play dates. Like, why is it so hard for people to break out of those habits of, you know, changing their peers? Because it's clear, you change your peers, you change your life. Why is it so hard for people?
Comfort, attachment, you know, probably criticism, scare of criticism. Judgment.
Yeah, they think that people are going to think that you think you're too good for them. Exactly. Yeah. In Spanish, we have, it's called creído, right? It's like Mr. Big Shot, you know what I mean? Like sellout kind of thing, you know what I mean? And it definitely did a big impact on me growing up because I was afraid to leave my friends behind. I was afraid to leave anybody behind. I didn't want to leave anybody behind, and I thought, you know, if I was going to be successful, I just bring everybody with me. But you can't carry people on your back. You know, how fast can you run with a person on your back?
Not too far.
What about 2?
Even worse.
What about 3?
You ain't moving.
I used to roll with a crew of 20 people. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's either they're coming or they're not coming. You know, and so I agree.
Yeah.
Last tip.
Take action. Take action. Because a lot of people, they go and they get knowledge, you know, but they don't put the action.
Yeah.
And they don't see the result. And it's the action that will bring you the result.
Yeah.
But also, I would say, the third one, I would say, take action.
Yeah, I love it, guys. I've been inspired by so many people, books, quotes, proverbs, sayings. What's the quote that inspired you the most?
Ooh, the one that inspired me the most, I don't know, but the one right now that I'm trying to adapt is become the person you want to be now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one for me right now. It's resonating with me. I'm constantly thinking about it and just being that person I want to be, the one that I see in the future. I need to be her right now. And so I try to embody that every day, and I'll just become her.
All right.
Yes, for me, it's one that kind of, I've heard a wise man said that once, and it helped me with my decision making. He said, when nothing changes, nothing changes. But when one thing changes, everything changes. You know, so be able to take good decisions.
Woo! Crystal, you guys were nervous. Yeah, but now this is went by like this. You guys are so inspiring. I love you to death.
Same here, man.
You guys are amazing people. You're helping a lot of people, and you're inspiring a lot of people. Keep doing what you're doing, and Alfonso loves you, and we're gonna see you guys at the top. Woo!
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast. If you have a question or comment about something you heard today, reach out to the Godfather via social media or email him anytime. All that information is in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Wealth Genius Podcast. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Until next time, see you at the top.